She laughed the first time she landed in Manila. Not a polite laugh, not a curious one, but a sharp, careless laugh that echoed her privilege. Amelia Kensington, daughter of a British property tycoon, looked out the tinted car window and whispered, "People actually live like this?" The camera follows her eyes as they pass crowded streets, tangled wires, jeepneys packed with strangers, children barefoot on sidewalks. This documentary begins not with admiration, but arrogance. Amelia had come to the Philippines on a one-year gap experience, forced by parents who wanted her to gain perspective. To her, it was exile. She filmed stories on her phone, mocking the food, the houses, the accents. "It's like a documentary on poverty," she joked to friends back home. What she didn't know, what none of them knew, was that this country she belittled was about to dismantle everything she believed about life, success, and herself. And 1 year later, when she finally returned home, even her own parents would struggle to recognize the woman stepping through their front door. Amelia grew up in a world insulated by wealth. Private chauffeurs, elite schools, vacations that required private lounges and champagne breakfasts. Her life in London was predictable, polished, and protected. The Kensington family name carried weight. Boardrooms paused when her father spoke. Amelia never doubted her superiority. It was baked into her upbringing. So when her parents insisted she volunteer abroad before taking her place in the family business, she agreed only out of boredom. The Philippines was chosen randomly, cheap, exotic, and temporary. Amelia arrived armed with designer luggage and preconceived judgments. She documented everything, turning ordinary Filipino life into punchlines. She mocked shared meals eaten by hand, laughed at tricycle rides, and scoffed at small homes where entire families lived together. In her mind, hardship was entertainment. The irony, as this documentary reveals, is that she had never faced a single day of true discomfort in her life, yet she felt qualified to judge those who faced it daily with dignity. Her first weeks were spent in a coastal town in Batangas, far from luxury resorts. Amelia complained endlessly. The heat, the power outages, the lack of Wi-Fi. She posted sarcastic captions online, gaining laughs from friends who shared her ignorance. Locals noticed, but said nothing. Filipinos, raised with politeness and restraint, rarely confront arrogance directly. Instead, they observe. Amelia stayed with the Dela Cruz family, who welcomed her into their modest home. They shared meals, stories, laughter, things Amelia found quaint. She couldn't understand how they smiled despite having so little. She didn't know yet that they were rich in ways her bank account couldn't measure. When Mrs. Dela Cruz woke before sunrise to cook breakfast for everyone, Amelia rolled her eyes. When Mr. Dela Cruz walked miles to work without complaint, she found it absurd. What she failed to see was resilience, the quiet kind that doesn't announce itself, but endures. The turning point didn't come with drama. It came with silence. One afternoon, Amelia followed Mrs. Dela Cruz to the market. There, she witnessed something she couldn't mock. Vendors laughed while sharing food. Neighbors helped each other without expecting payment. A woman gave free vegetables to someone who clearly couldn't afford them. Amelia stood there, confused. Back home, generosity was calculated. Here it was instinctive. Later that evening, a storm hit. Power went out. Amelia panicked. The Dela Cruz family lit candles, cooked together, sang quietly. No complaints. No fear. Just calm. That night, Amelia didn't film. She didn't post. She watched. And for the first time, she felt something unfamiliar, small. Not superior. Not in control. Just human. The Philippines hadn't changed yet. But something inside Amelia had begun to crack. Weeks turned into months. Amelia's sarcasm softened. She stopped filming misery and started noticing moments. She joined community events reluctantly at first, then willingly. She learned how to ride a jeepney without flinching. She learned to eat rice with her hands. She learned names, source, losses, dreams. She met children who walked kilometers to school and still dreamed of becoming doctors. She met fishermen who prayed before every trip, not knowing if they'd return safely. Their faith confused her. Their gratitude unsettled her. Back in Britain, success meant accumulation. Here, success meant survival, with kindness intact. Amelia still struggled, but she stopped mocking. She started listening. One night, she admitted something to herself she'd never dared before. Her life back home suddenly felt empty. All that wealth, and yet she had never felt this connected to anyone. 6 months in, Amelia volunteered at a local school. At first, she treated it like a resume filler. But the children disarmed her. They didn't care about her accent or clothes. They cared that she showed up. When she missed a day due to illness, they worried. When she returned, they cheered. No one had ever cheered for Amelia simply for being present. Teaching English, she stumbled. These children, despite limited resources, were eager, respectful, and disciplined. One boy asked her, "Miss, is life easy in your country?" She froze. Easy? She had always assumed so. But now she wondered. Easy compared to what? That question followed her home. She started journaling instead of posting online. She wrote about guilt, about privilege, about how uncomfortable it felt to realize she'd been wrong her entire life. Growth, as this documentary shows, is rarely glamorous. It's quiet, painful, honest. By month 8, Amelia cut her hair short, sold her designer clothes. Not for charity content, but because they no longer felt right. She learned Tagalog phrases, enough to joke, to thank, to apologize. She laughed differently now, without cruelty. The locals noticed. Respect replaced tolerance. She was invited to fiestas, to birthdays, to funerals. She witnessed grief expressed collectively, not hidden. When a neighbor passed away, the whole community mourned. Amelia cried with people she once dismissed. That night, she called her parents for the first time in months. They barely recognized her voice, not because it changed, but because her tone had. She spoke slower, softer. She asked how they were. That had never happened before. Her mother laughed awkwardly. Her father thought it was a phase. Neither understood that their daughter was unlearning everything they had taught her. The final months in the Philippines were the hardest. Amelia dreaded leaving. She had found purpose in simplicity. She woke early, helped cook, taught, listened. She no longer needed constant stimulation or validation. The community threw her a farewell. And made gifts, letters, tears. Mrs. Dela Cruz hugged her tightly and said, "You came here a guest. You leave family." Amelia broke down. 1 year earlier, she had mocked this life. Now, she was terrified of losing it. As she boarded the plane, she looked nothing like the girl who arrived. No luxury bags. No forced confidence. Just quiet strength. The documentary pauses here, not at the return, but at the transformation. Because sometimes, the most dramatic change isn't visible yet. It reveals itself when old worlds collide. When Amelia arrived back in London, her parents waited at the airport. They scanned faces. Passed her twice. Her mother whispered, "She must be delayed." Then Amelia stepped forward. Simple clothes. No makeup. Calm eyes. Her father stared, confused. "Amelia?" he asked, uncertain. They hugged, but it was awkward. She didn't cling. She didn't boast. On the drive home, silence filled the car. Amelia noticed things she'd never seen before. The isolation, the coldness, the way everyone avoided eye contact. At dinner, her parents spoke about investments. Amelia listened, then gently asked about the staff. Their lives. Their families. Her parents exchanged glances. Who was this person? The girl who once mocked poverty now questioned excess. And they weren't ready for it. Over the following weeks, tension grew. Amelia declined luxury shopping trips. She cooked. She volunteered locally. She questioned business ethics at the dinner table. Her father grew defensive. "You've changed," he snapped. Amelia nodded. "Yes, I hope so." Her mother cried one night, whispering, "We sent you away and got a stranger back." But Amelia wasn't lost. She was found. She began planning something radical, using her inheritance to fund education programs in the Philippines. When she announced it, her father stood up in anger. "That country used you," he said. Amelia replied calmly, "No. It saved me." The room fell silent. The documentary ends not with reconciliation, but with truth. Growth disrupts comfort, and sometimes, becoming unrecognizable is the price of becoming real. News of Amelia's transformation didn't stay within the walls of the Kensington mansion. Word spread quietly at first, among family friends, business associates, and former classmates. They whispered about how the Philippines changed her, often with condescension, as if empathy were a disease she had caught. Amelia felt the judgment but no longer flinched. She had learned something vital overseas. People who mock compassion usually fear it. She declined invitations to elite gatherings, choosing instead to spend time volunteering at migrant centers in London, where many Filipinos worked as caregivers, nurses, and cleaners. When they heard where she had lived, their faces lit up. They welcomed her warmly, calling her Anik, as if she belonged. For Amelia, this was grounding. She realized the Philippines had followed her home, not as a place, but as a value system. Meanwhile, her parents watched from a distance, confused and increasingly worried. This was not the future they had engineered for their daughter. Her father attempted to course-correct. He offered Amelia a senior role in the family business. More money, more authority, more status. In the past, she would have leapt at it. Now, she hesitated. During meetings, she asked uncomfortable questions about labor wages, overseas workers, land displacement. Executives shifted in their seats. Her father pulled her aside. "This isn't how business works," he warned. Amelia replied softly, "Then maybe business should change." That sentence fractured something between them. At home, arguments replaced silence. Her parents accused her of being ungrateful, of romanticizing poverty. Amelia didn't argue back. She simply shared stories of families who had nothing but gave everything, of children who dreamed bigger than she ever had. Her parents listened, but they didn't hear her. To them, success was dominance. To Amelia now, success was impact. One evening, Amelia made a decision that would permanently alter her relationship with her family. She announced she was setting up a foundation, independent from the Kensington Empire, focused on education and community-led development in the Philippines. Not charity for headlines. Partnership. Her father exploded. He accused her of embarrassment, of betrayal, of throwing away legacy. Amelia stood her ground. For the first time in her life, she didn't seek approval. She sought alignment. Her mother pleaded quietly, asking where her old daughter had gone. Amelia answered through tears, she didn't know who she was. That night, Amelia moved out. Not in anger, but in clarity. The girl who once mocked Filipino life had finally learned how to stand on her own. Living independently was a shock. No staff. No chauffeurs. No safety net beyond her own discipline. Yet Amelia thrived. The resilience she had absorbed in the Philippines kicked in. She budgeted. She cooked simple meals. She found comfort in routines rather than luxury. Slowly, her foundation gained traction. Not because of her name, but because of her sincerity. Filipino educators trusted her. Community leaders partnered with her. She refused to be the face of the projects, insisting locals lead. Media outlets began noticing, not for scandal but for substance. Headlines read, "British heiress funds grassroots education abroad." Her parents watched these articles in disbelief. The narrative was shifting, and Amelia was no longer controllable. A year after her return, Amelia did something no one expected. She invited her parents to visit the Philippines. Not as tourists, not as donors, but as guests, under the same conditions she had lived. Her father laughed it off. Her mother hesitated. Eventually, curiosity won. When they arrived, there were no luxury accommodations waiting. Just the same modest town, the same Dela Cruz family. Her parents were visibly uncomfortable. The heat, the noise, the simplicity. Amelia watched quietly, recognizing her former self in their reactions. But the Philippines has a way of dismantling defenses. Slowly, conversations replaced complaints. Smiles replaced suspicion. Her parents saw classrooms built not with pity, but pride. They met teachers whose passion outshone any salary. They saw Amelia, not leading but listening. The defining moment came during a community dinner. Amelia's father sat beside Mr. Dela Cruz, sharing food, laughing despite language barriers. Later, he admitted something quietly to Amelia. "They remind me of my childhood," he said. That sentence stunned her. For the first time, he wasn't judging, he was remembering. Her mother cried as children performed songs they had practiced for weeks. "They have so little," she whispered. Amelia corrected her gently. "They have each other." That night, her parents didn't recognize the Philippines, but they began recognizing their daughter. Not the version they created, but the one she became. When they returned to Britain, something had shifted. Her father didn't apologize, he wasn't ready, but he softened. He asked questions. He listened. Her mother hugged Amelia longer than usual. The foundation expanded, now quietly supported by the Kensington resources, without ownership, without conditions. Amelia never returned to who she was before. She didn't want to. The girl who mocked Filipino life had disappeared. In her place stood a woman shaped by humility, gratitude, and truth. The documentary doesn't frame this as redemption, it frames it as awakening. Because change doesn't require punishment. It requires exposure. Today, Amelia splits her time between London and the Philippines. She walks freely in both worlds, belonging fully to neither, and that's exactly where she's meant to be. Her parents still struggle to understand her choices, but they respect them. Sometimes, losing recognition is the cost of growth. And sometimes, that loss becomes the proof that transformation was real. Looking back, Amelia often thinks about the first laugh she let out upon landing in Manila. She cringes now, not from shame, but from clarity. She didn't know then what she knows now, that mocking a life you don't understand is often a reflection of emptiness, not superiority. The Philippines didn't humble her, it revealed her. It stripped away performance and replaced it with purpose. In interviews, when asked what changed her, Amelia always gives the same answer. People who had every reason to be bitter, but chose kindness instead. That answer silences rooms. Because kindness, when genuine, is disarming. This story isn't about a rich girl saving anyone. It's about a privileged person being saved from herself. It's about how environments shape us, but values transform us. Amelia Kensington didn't lose her identity in the Philippines. She found it. And when she came home, unrecognizable to her parents, it wasn't because she had changed too much. It was because she had finally changed enough. For viewers watching this documentary, Amelia's journey forces an uncomfortable question. How many assumptions do we carry about lives we've never lived? How often do we confuse wealth with worth, comfort with character? Amelia once did. And she paid for it, not with money, but with truth. The Philippines became her mirror, reflecting back not what she wanted to see, but what she needed to confront. That is the quiet power of immersion, when you stop observing and start belonging. The irony is undeniable. A country she once ridiculed became the teacher she never knew she needed. And a family she thought had nothing gave her everything she lacked. Amelia's story isn't rare, but it is rarely told honestly. Transformation doesn't come with background music. It comes with discomfort, resistance, and humility. And most importantly, with time. In the end, Amelia didn't abandon her roots, she expanded them. Her life now holds contradictions: wealth and simplicity, privilege and responsibility, distance and belonging. And she carries them all with grace. Because once you've seen life stripped to its essentials, excess loses its grip. The Philippines remains unchanged in its warmth, resilience, and generosity. It doesn't seek validation from those who visit. It simply offers truth, and lets people decide what to do with it. Amelia chose growth. Others don't. That choice makes all the difference. Her parents still tell the story differently. They say their daughter went away and came back, different. Amelia smiles at that. Different isn't the word. Awake is. If this documentary leaves you unsettled, that's intentional. Growth is unsettling. And the most powerful journeys often begin with ignorance, and end with empathy. Because sometimes, the place you least respect becomes the place that reshapes you the most. And sometimes, Becoming unrecognizable is the clearest sign that you've finally become yourself. This is not just Amelia's story. It's a reminder, travel doesn't change you, people do. And 1 year was all it took for a girl who mocked Filipino life to be forever changed by it.